really entertaining thing about Donald Trump is there's no censor. He just boom, right out there. And I'm kind of the same way.
You don't say. Tonight,
it's Trump. Everything he does seems to turn into gold.
A personal portrait of the world's most public person.
Does everybody have it? What we have to show is going to be totally magnificent. If you haven't seen it.
He's much more relaxed when the cameras are off. Trump feels that he has to entertain his audience, as well as put forth his point of view on various issues.
Bill O'Reilly has known Donald Trump for 35 years, and he's seen every side of the man who's defined an era.
We love Trump! We love Trump!
Trump gets up there, puts on a show.
The showman, the competitor, the survivor, and the family man.
He's a man who lives to win.
There may be nobody who's known the Donald longer and better, willing to reveal this much.
I don't want to be, this is private stuff.
It's just you and I, Bill. Come on. Forget what you think you know.
Most American press, they don't care to understand Donald Trump. They just want to put forth a caricature.
And join us for a guided tour of the United States of Trump. Good evening, I'm Leland Vittert. Bill O'Reilly, journalist, presidential historian, and outspoken political observer, has known Donald Trump since the early 90s. He's interviewed Trump dozens of times, often combatively. And beyond that, they've chatted privately, gone to ball games. They even went on a memorable double date. More about that later. Back in 2019, Bill wrote a book about the then president's view of the country, the United States of Trump. He did not hold back. But a lot's happened since then, and there's a lot more Trump to come. So tonight, we delve into this unique relationship, the many sides of Trump that Bill has seen up close and personal, and how they all come back to one thing: winning. You were with Trump at MaraLago as he prepared to take office for the second time. How was that different than the Donald Trump you saw before he was prepared to take office the first time?
As Trump would say, huge. Okay, so when he was elected in 16 and took over in 17, he didn't know what he was doing. And he'll tell you that. He comes out of New York City real estate world where he knows everybody and he gets what he wants, into Washington, D.C., where everybody hates him, and he's not getting what he wants, even from his own team. And he's not quite sure about who's good and who's bad. So the first year was chaos.
Do you
believe that?
Now, 8 years later, he knows. And when I was in the meeting with him in early January, it was an unbelievable window. Donald Trump was as clear and as authoritative as I have ever seen him in 35 years of knowing the man.
Okay, but the two of you guys, you grew up sort of around the same time, and you both have gone through, personally and professionally, some tough times.
Sure, everybody does.
But there's something about you and Trump that you understand each other.
We're both flamboyant, boisterous at times.
Confident.
You are a rude, terrible person.
Well, who's getting hosed? Overconfident? Overconfident?
Your words, not mine.
So we do have personality traits, but we certainly come at life in a way different way. What we do have in common is I'm not going to let the bastards get me down. I'm not going to let them win. That's what O'Reilly and Trump have in common.
All right, Bill. Describe Donald Trump for me.
Well, Donald Trump is a unique individual for a lot of reasons. Primarily, he's a man who lives to win. He is the most competitive person I have ever encountered.
In his mind, the worst thing you can be is a loser.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But he separates winners from losers, and he wants to associate with winners.
And he wants to be a winner.
He is a winner.
Help me understand where this guy goes from going to school, and nobody really remembered him. He wasn't a big man on campus. Where did the switch flip?
Well, he goes to Fordham, and this is, Vietnam time, turbulence time, and everybody's, dressed like Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, and Trump's wearing a jacket and tie walking around because his sole focus, even when he was in college, was on real estate.
You go back in the book to two people emerging in New York at the same time, Joe Namath, the quarterback, and Donald Trump. How does Trump pick Joe Namath?
You went out and wiped out Baltimore the next day. It was one of the big upsets of all time.
Well, that was a cinch. I took the Baltimore Colts out that night before.
He admires people who are daring. Daring is the word. And Trump's a big sports guy. Joe Willie wins the Super Bowl, predicts he's going to win it. As far as celebrity is concerned, Joe Willie goes anywhere in New York City, every door opens, every woman stares. He's by far the biggest star in this town.
So Trump sees that and wants to be that.
He wants to be that.
Okay.
But he can't be that as an athlete, but he can be that in business. So here's a guy who comes out of a wealthy family in Queens, and his father is successful, but his father doesn't want to be mega successful, and his son, Donald, does. And that clashes because he keeps pushing his father, we need more and more and more, and his father goes, no, we have enough. We dominate Queens and Brooklyn in real estate. We don't have to go into Manhattan. But Donald Trump, from a very early age, wanted to be a mega success. So he drags his father and says, look, you see this hotel, the Commodore Hotel? We're going to buy this. His father goes, I don't want to buy this. This is a dump. Okay, Trump goes, no, I'm going to get it. That starts it. Buys it, turns it into a big success as a Hyatt, okay? And then, vroom. Donald Trump, he wanted to go big time. He was driven to do that. And once you understand that his whole life is about accomplishment. He doesn't have any hobbies, doesn't scuba dive.
Golfs.
He does golf, but that's not a hobby. Golf is a passion for him.
Competition, he can win.
He's got to be, if he has a bad round, you don't want to be around, okay?
I know the feeling.
He's up there. So life is a competition. When I used to go to the games with him, the Yankee and Knick games and things like that, Mets, he was good for 6 innings at the game. And then he's gone. That was all he could give you because he has stuff to do. And he doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep because he has stuff to do. Donald Trump gets bored easily, okay? He wants action. And so when he's bored, watch out.
Is that where the mean tweets come from?
That's where everything comes from.
So Donald Trump bored on a Saturday afternoon.
No good.
It's winter.
No
he can't
good.
play golf.
Right.
He's at the White House.
Right. I told him he should hire Taylor Swift to just follow him around. And when he gets bored, Taylor would sing or do a dance or something. Anything to divert him from being bored.
You said this. One thing has been a constant in Donald Trump's world. He never admits he's wrong, and he never says, I'm sorry.
Don Jr., his son, very loyal to him, said, I have never in my entire life heard my father admit to a mistake. Unquote. So Don Jr. said he sees it as a weakness.
Is that dangerous, though, for a guy who has the nuclear codes?
No.
Always escalate to de-escalate?
That's just ridiculous. If you look at Trump's first term, he was adverse to aggressive military action across the board. Yes, he destroyed ISIS, and he had to, and he wanted to. He got Soleimani, and he had to, and he wanted to. But committing American forces and all that, Trump is smart enough to know that is never going to work again in this world. It's way too dangerous. He'll escalate the rhetoric.
Trump will always escalate the rhetoric, but not the action.
Senator Marco Rubio, thank you very much, Mr. Senator.
But there's this romance of reconciliation with Donald Trump, right? Is that he can insult people, and then when they're willing to come back into the fold and compliment him, he loves having you. Little Marco is now Secretary of State.
Big Marco. Little Marco went to Big Marco. And look, he's a very smart guy. And what he did was what Cruz did and what a whole bunch of other Republicans did. They surrendered.
You think about the moment of Donald Trump seething as Obama roasts him and humiliates him on national television.
I invited Trump to the Washington Correspondents' Dinner.
Oh, boy.
He and I sat there. President Obama ripped Trump up like it was unbelievable.
And then you see the moment at Jimmy Carter's funeral where Donald Trump is laughing and having a great time and yucking it up with Obama. It looks like they're old buddies there saying goodbye to an old friend. Can Trump do that because he's won now? It's more important to win than it is to win on the grudge.
Absolutely right. He's not malevolent. You know, this is if you listen to the NBCs of the world, CNNs of the world, New York Times of the world, this is the devil. You know, he's the devil. He's cruel, he's mean. That's not true. He's transactional, and he wants to win every transaction. And when he feels that he's won, it's over.
And he's the most gracious guy in the world.
I wouldn't say that. Let's frame it this way. He can be gracious.
Coming up, he's not just a successful businessman and a politician.
So help me God.
Donald Trump is a consummate performer.
And he points. You ever notice? And it's always he ends up going in the opposite direction ultimately.
Trump, the showman.
I'm going to get you some French lessons. Somebody come up here and say.
When we come back. Is Donald Trump the ultimate showman?
I wouldn't say he's the ultimate showman. Elvis was the ultimate showman. But he likes Elvis.
And he would love that comparison.
And he liked Michael Jackson. And he liked Joe Namath. And he likes these larger-than-life guys because he admires the fact that they have the skill set and the cojones to go out and present themselves that way, and then they get this enormous positive feedback. That's him.
I want to take you back to knowing Donald Trump socially, right? You're a reporter and you start to get to know Donald Trump. You go on a double date with him to go see a Paula Abdul show.
He asked me to do him a favor. He said, hey, my current relationship, Marla Maples, has a college roommate in town. Would you accompany her to a concert with us? So I said, okay. It's hysterical. We take an elevator up to the suite, and I go, oh, this is all right. I'm in the suite, free food, decent view of the stage, and this will be okay. This is what I'm saying to myself. No. Trump wants to walk around the arena. So he goes out into the concourse, and it's bedlam screaming and yelling and like all of this. He loves it. And that's when the light went off for me. I go, this guy wants to be a star.
He loves
it. He loves it. And
does he need it?
I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. But most performers, politicians, athletes, whatever, they love the adulation. That's why they're in it.
You said Elvis. A number of these people, Michael Jackson, have all been overtaken, shall we say, by some of their worst proclivities or their worst parts of their psyche. Somehow Donald Trump has not been so far. How do we explain that?
He's a smart guy in a sense that he's not self-destructive, and that's what usually does the superstars in. He's also, you know, his brother was an alcoholic, and he loved his brother. His brother died in his 40s from booze, and he swore he would never get involved, and he hasn't. All right, doesn't drink, doesn't take drugs, doesn't do anything.
Diet Cokes and milkshakes.
But he's not going to do anything on a consistent basis to destroy himself, because that's not winning.
What do you take in your study of Donald Trump, your observing of Donald Trump, of the Apprentice years?
It was perfect for Trump. Trump's in charge, Trump's making decisions, they're all trying to please Trump. I mean, it couldn't have been better for him. Could not have been a better venue. And he gets well known, everybody knows him, far more than any other politician in the country. He's not a politician yet, but after a while he got a little bored with it. And so he decided to up the game again.
What did he understand about the American psyche to figure out The Apprentice at the right time, and then to figure out where the country was in 2014, 15, 16 at the right time?
Keep it simple. Keep your message simple and entertaining. Don't be boring, but don't get too complex. He's going to get the border. He's going to get your wallet. He's going to get China. He's going to get the stuff that people can react to. Always get a reaction.
So that whole idea that Donald Trump is uncensored, does that make him totally different than any politician you ever covered?
Sure. He's absolutely not even in the same universe as 95% of American politicians, because he doesn't think if I say this, that will happen. He goes, I'm going to say what I want and I don't give a fig. How many politicians do that? None. And that's why he won in 16, because he got on that stage with all these other politicians. What were there, 11 of them? All right? And he's looking at him and he's going, you're boring, you're a liar. And these guys are going to go, what? They never heard any. I remember watching that debate, the first one in August.
This is the first debate on Fox
in 16.
2015.
And my crew and I are sitting there watching it. Our mouths are like this. What? What's happening? And it captured the disenchantment of the American people about career politicians, about phonies. And he just wiped them out.
Part of the Donald Trump act is the insult comedy, right? Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Pocahontas for Elizabeth Warren. You compare him to Don Rickles.
I hurt the people.
Is that because he's branding people? Is it because he's actually being mean? What is it?
Well, I don't know if it's mean, but he certainly wants to rattle their cages, to lose a cliche. He wants to shake them. Not just his political opponents, but foreign leaders.
The media?
He's a provocateur. Everybody knows that. He likes to be a provocateur. Likes it because it's not boring. It's exciting.
You are describing a man who sounds very similar when the cameras are on as when the cameras are off.
He feels he has to entertain.
They said it would be unbelievable if you could wear it on stage. And I said, no way. You know, it actually makes you look thinner. I said, in that case, I'll wear it on stage.
This is what journalists, and they don't care to understand. By the way, most American press people, they don't care to understand Donald Trump. They just want to put forth a caricature. Trump feels that he has to entertain his audience as well as put forth his point of view on various issues. So that's why he says all this wild stuff.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
So the audience is going to sit there for an hour or whatever it is. Who's going to sit there for an hour with Chuck Schumer? You'd commit suicide. All right? You couldn't do it. And he has been probably more successful than any of the other names that I just mentioned. I mean, the guy's the most famous man in the world, most powerful man in the world. Think about that.
But wait, there's more.
And it's turned out to be a great deal.
It's Donald Trump, the deal maker.
I've been doing deals for a long time. That's what I do.
And everything's negotiable. When we come back. Donald Trump loves the deal, right? That was the first book, The Art of the Deal. Is everything in politics to him a deal?
Everything.
What's the deal with Elon Musk?
So you need to get friends and family to vote. Make sure they vote early.
Oh, that's power. Donald Trump believes that Elon Musk is the most powerful civilian in the country because of X.
And money.
I don't think it's money so much. He controls a vehicle that reaches tens of millions of people, Musk does. And there's nobody telling Musk what to do. So Trump forms a partnership with Musk. Power, raw power.
Decision Desk HQ can now project that former President Donald Trump will be our next president.
Elections have winners and losers. Business deals oftentimes, hey, everybody tries to make sure somebody else has something at the table, right? We can all win here. In order for Donald Trump to win, does someone else have to lose?
No, absolutely not. If Donald Trump gets what he wants, you'll hear how excellent the president of Panama is. He's the greatest guy, you know, that's what he does.
Is there something remarkable about that, right? Because very few people have the mindset that they are willing to say nice things about people, even if they don't like that person, in order to get what they want. There's some pride that prevents that Donald Trump almost doesn't have.
No, he doesn't care about that at all. As long as he wins, as long as he gets what he wants, then he'll say nice things about who's ever giving him what he wants.
This is, I thought, an interesting point. At age 33, Donald Trump began construction on the 68-story Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, helped by a $140 million tax abatement. If you're going to build a skyscraper on one of the most expensive pieces of land on the planet, it helps to have friends in high places before concrete is poured. Kind of sounds like a little bit of grease.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that, and still is, in New York City. You want to get something done here, you better have the right connections. One of the interesting things I found out in the United States of Trump was how he dealt with the mob. And now, Trump didn't break the law, but he knew that the mob controlled the cement union workers and all this other stuff, and that if the mob didn't like you, and to this day that holds, they can sabotage your project. So he sat in a room with these guys.
Is that any different than talking to Putin or Kim Jong-un? Is that kind of how Trump
That's
sees
an
it?
excellent point you just made. He'll talk with anybody, Trump, if he can get what he wants out of them. He has no compunctions. He comes in, and the worst people on earth, and Putin is one of those, one of the worst people on earth, Trump's got a pretty good relationship with him. And you're going to see a deal in Ukraine, I believe, fairly quickly. There are people that he sincerely loathes. I'm not going to say, because I don't think it's right to do that. But there are
Is he vindictive?
Few people. No, I mean, look, let me throw one name out there. And this is probably unfair. He loathes Joe Biden. Loathes him. And the reason that Trump doesn't like Biden is because he sees Biden as a loser.
You write, there's nothing worse for Donald Trump than a guy who gets the short end of a deal.
Sure. I mean, a lot of that is, he looks at these trade deals, Trump, and he goes, this is insane. You know, he looks at the giveaways. Biden is the biggest spending president in our history by far. Trillions of dollars wasted. He looks at Biden giving Iran, unfreezing all of this money and giving it to the people who are fostering terrorism. Trump disdains that.
The other way to look at that, right, is that Trump hates Biden and loathes Biden because Biden beat him and made Trump a loser.
There's probably some truth to that. But in Biden's case, it's personal. He thinks Biden's weak, not honest, and he doesn't have any use for him at all. Trump did not go to his inauguration, Biden's inauguration. And to Biden's credit, he is going to Trump's inauguration. And that is to Biden's credit.
Up next, what impresses Bill the most about Donald Trump?
Take a look at what happened. Oh.
How about the simple fact that he's still standing? Donald Trump, the survivor, when the United States of Trump continues.
Nobody could have done what he did, taking the vitriol and hatred directing at him. Throughout history, no president except Abraham Lincoln took the hatred that he took. And Lincoln was killed because of it, and Trump was almost killed. Okay? So you got to be strong to continue that way. Most people would have folded. He's a strong guy. Whether you like him or not, you can't deny that.
The strength thing's an interesting point, right? And this is a guy who's been through booms and busts, right? You watched him 1987, the real estate crash. You wrote about it in the United States of Trump. He doubles down, he doubles down, he doubles down, finally sort of finds his way out. Is that unwavering, never quit? Is that the same thing as he loses in 2020 and says, all right, I'm going to come back and run again in 2024?
I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
It's like throwing 5 interceptions. All right, the next week you come back and you throw 5 touchdowns. So Trump does not live in an introspective world. This is one of the most important points I want to make on this show. He's not an introspective man. He doesn't
journal.
He doesn't
meditate.
He doesn't regret. He lives in the moment. So the moment is bad, but the next moment he's going to make it good. He's disciplined enough to, when a mistake hurts him. I know he thinks about the mistake, but he doesn't carry it around as a burden. Does that make sense? So he puts it aside and he just keeps going. But he is able to get by these disasters that would sink other people by being resilient.
Donald Trump has an innate ability to survive through sort of almost anything, right? The Access Hollywood tape, impeachment 1, January 6th, impeachment 2, but then came all of the lawfare issues. Was there ever a time that you talked to Donald Trump that you thought, he may just decide this isn't worth it?
No, not one time. And his goal was, I'm going to get back there. I never saw him waver about that. I did see him get very angry, particularly about the New York City stuff.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
Very, very angry about it. And he doesn't show emotion much. But there were a few conversations where I suggested, just for you and your well-being, somehow you're going to have to tamp that down. You know, you just have to be strong. It's like war.
It's Churchill, right?
Yeah,
you're walking through hell, keep going.
Right, it's war.
After January 6th, I think there was a lot of people who said Trump might be done.
Sure, absolutely. January 6th, when that happened, I was disappointed that he didn't assert himself, and that was a mistake. If I believed that Donald Trump wanted people to invade the Capitol and defile our system, I would never, ever have anything to do with him again. I believe things got out of hand and he didn't act quickly enough.
How did we get from there and that moment to January 20th, 2025?
So Joe Biden was obviously a terrible president because he created the problems. He created the border. He created the massive inflation. He did it. Awful, awful, awful. Now we learned that his team deceived everybody, but the guy was doddering from the very beginning. That helped Trump dramatically. When Trump waxed him on the debate in last June, it was a shock. Then they replaced Biden with an extremely weak candidate with no frame of reference, Kamala Harris.
I accept your nomination.
Now, can you imagine me interviewing Kamala Harris about complicated issues? It would be a massacre. She doesn't know. She's a machine politician, which is why every question you ask her, she said, well, I'm from a middle-class home.
I grew up in a middle-class household.
Hey, lady, we got it, okay?
So you're setting up right now that Donald Trump won
because his opposition was weak and unfocused, and the people were suffering financially, and they hate the woke stuff. Most Americans hate it. They don't want to be judged by their skin color or their lifestyle. And that's what the Democratic Party embraced.
He's beat the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Cheneys, Biden, Harris, the media, the Republican establishment, the Washington establishment, Hollywood academia, the Biden Justice Department.
Staggering rundown of the people he's defeated.
Who does he see as his next enemy?
That'll be Iran. Those mullahs are in big trouble. Big trouble.
Bring them home now! Bring them home now!
So the inauguration of Donald Trump the second time around is going to be an amazing historical event.
Greatest political comeback in American history.
Never before has a president overcome more obstacles than Donald Trump. And some of those obstacles were self-imposed, but never before has a man overcome as much as Trump has overcome.
Coming up, Trump doesn't just think highly of himself, he feels the same way about the country.
We are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue.
Where does America first come from? Trump the Patriot next.
This will be the golden age of America. This is a lot of people. And we will make America great again. We're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote.
Make America great again?
Mm-hmm.
What period of time is he referring to when America was great and we must restore it?
Leave it to Beaver time.
Leave it to Beaver.
Loves the 50s, loves Dwight Eisenhower, traditional America, victors in World War II, expansion. Trump likes that era, all right? I like it. And those of us who were brought up in that era, it was fairly calm. And the United States was coming off the big win against Japan and Germany. Well, he has a view of the world and a view of the country.
What is it?
It's the country is the strongest and the best in the world, number one. Strongest, best. Number two, it should be run in a traditional way. Okay, no woke, no DEI, none of this stuff. And number three is he believes that the American dominance is a positive for the world. That's how he sees it. That's values, not politics.
And for somebody who looks with nostalgia to times when America did have a real problem with race, how can we all say so conclusively race isn't a part of it?
Okay, if you look at his history, very generous to African Americans. He loved black athletes. And I've been around Trump a lot. I've never seen or heard him disparage any minority at all, ever. In fact, one of the things he is proudest of in his first term is that real wages went up for African Americans faster than other ethnic groups.
We'll extend this beyond racism just with blacks, accused of racism when it comes to anti-Mexicans, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim.
We have to be extremely careful with radical Islamic terrorism.
It's just all garbage, and that gets me angry because that's what the liberal press is selling. Look, on the Muslim thing, what he did was he analyzed countries where there was absolutely no supervision about who was getting visas and passports. And he said, look, these countries aren't regulating anything. They got a big terrorist population. We're not taking anybody. Is that illogical after 9/11? In the Mexico thing, he goes, we can't absorb 14 million foreign nationals unsupervised.
And our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason.
Is that irrational? But he gets the racism against Mexicans around his neck. This is so pernicious. And this is why the American press is evaporating, because Americans know that this is blatantly unfair. This is about issues and problem solving.
Hello, everybody.
You're handsome.
That was a great day.
How has Donald Trump, the billionaire, developer, jet setter, sports team owner, MaraLago owning, golfing tycoon, convinced the folks, as you would call them, that he's with them?
Because his tastes mirror theirs.
So he really does like McDonald's.
When I'm at the game, and I'm paying for everything, by the way, he goes, I want a milkshake, I want a cheeseburger. He's not going, I'd like the caviar. I'd like the escargot. No. His tastes are queens.
So he really listens to country music?
I don't know what he listens to, all right?
Okay.
I know he doesn't listen to me enough, but other than that...
Nobody does, Bill. Nobody can ever listen to you too much.
That's probably true. But he has what they cliche calls the common touch, which is why he went into the McDonald's.
I made it myself.
You're the man. Make America great.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You imagine Kamala Harris in McDonald's at the drive-in window? Are you kidding me? There'd be 18 makeup people. It's like you put makeup on the cars that came up. Come on.
You've watched Donald Trump morph from being a New York Democrat to being a MAGA Republican. Has Donald Trump's views morphed, or has just the political landscape in America morphed and he picked up on that?
Parties don't mean anything to him. He can't give you the history.
Does policy mean anything to him?
Policy means something, but Donald Trump can't give you the history of the Republican Party.
Doesn't care.
Doesn't mean anything. They back him. But is he going, you know, that Republican Party, Lincoln did a good job of really molding it? He doesn't do that. So when he was in New York building his fortune, everybody was a Democrat, so he was a Democrat. Simple as that. And then when he went into politics, he didn't like the welfare and the massive spending and the woke stuff. He doesn't like that. So he becomes a Republican.
So if we think about how he won, right? The famous ad, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you.
Right.
Is that why he won?
He won because of money. Donald Trump won the election because Americans are suffering when they buy food and fuel and insurance and on and on and on and on. And they trust Trump to get that under control because it was under control in his first term. It's a simple equation. People vote their wallets. They always have in this country, and they always will.
He has a mandate now. Is part of that mandate uniting the country?
No, and it's not a main concern of Donald Trump's, uniting the country. He thinks that the people who hate him are not worth uniting. No.
He doesn't care.
No.
Does Trump want to help people who are marginalized?
He wants to help all the people. Okay, he doesn't segment it out.
So he doesn't divide based on an oppression matrix.
It's not a tribal thing with him. He wants to please his MAGA base, and that's a tribe. He wants to please them. But he doesn't want to exclude anybody. But he feels that all of this mishmash of DEI and people getting hired on the basis of their skin color or lifestyle weakens the country. He firmly believes that. So he's against it.
See? That's Barrett.
Next, away from the cameras, what this guy really is like as a husband and a father.
I want to really support my children. They work very hard.
Donald Trump, the family man, when we come back.
And our next president, Donald J.
So let's get back to Donald Trump, the man. His kids love him. There's not a lot of men who are twice divorced, have had a number of affairs, and yet their kids all worship them.
I stay out of that.
You talk about it in the book.
A little bit, but I talk about it through the lens of the kids.
So how do you explain Donald Trump as the traditional values man who goes back to Leave It to Beaver, and whose personal life, shall we say, is what, colorful?
I don't explain it. I don't know about what happens in those precincts.
One thing that struck me in your interviews with the kids, right, is how Donald Trump was a father, was omnipresent, but at the same time, not your typical father. And the kids loved that about him. They loved going to construction sites with him rather than playing t-ball.
Yeah, he set them up in a way where they learned a lot. And these were all of his children are super intelligent, by the way. Tiffany, the child he had with Marla Maple, is a lawyer. I mean, they're very smart kids. And what he did was he gave them opportunities to use their skills. And in most American families, a tremendous amount of tension. I think that's accurate. But there doesn't seem to be that between President Trump and his offspring.
Tell me about your relationship with Melania.
I know her.
Is she a regulating force on him? Does he change when she's around?
Let's put it this way. I don't want to be, this is private stuff.
It's just you and I, Bill. Come on.
Donald Trump listens to Melania. She says something to him, he's got it.
He says hello to everyone in Greenland.
You've had political dynasties in America before. You've written about them.
Sure.
Bushes, Adams, Kennedys, whatever.
Kennedy.
All right. Is Trump the next one?
Donald Trump Jr. will run for office, I predict.
Vote! Vote! Thank you, New York City!
But as far as the dynasty is concerned, nobody knows. I mean, it's a changing landscape in America. the populist Donald Trump has broken down a lot of that traditional hierarchy that, because he has been so successful as an outsider, and he's very interested in his legacy. He wants to be on Mount Rushmore, and he'll buy another mountain and put himself on it if he has to.
What has to happen for him to earn the legacy that he wants?
He has to fulfill his campaign promises. He's got to stop the madness in immigration. He's got to provide a stimulant to raise wages for working class Americans. This is why he wants the tariffs. And he has to calm it all down overseas, which he succeeded in doing his first 4 years. So if he does those three things, he'll have a very successful second term.
You seem optimistic.
I'm just telling you, this will be the golden age of America. This is the golden age of America. We're going to have a great country again.
Look, he's got the pathway. It's there for him. Now, when I was talking to the last conversation I had with the president, he was talking about his legacy. And I said, well, you got 4, okay? We'll see where you are, but you're going to have to accomplish.
Donald Trump promises more wins than ever over the next 4 years. And Bill's singular insights on this singular president will continue. I'm Leland Vittert. For all of us here at NewsNation, thanks for watching, and good night.